Hello, everybody, and today we are going to be in conversation with India's first intimacy coordinator, Aastha Khanna. And I'm also super excited to let you know that this is her first interview in the whole of South India. Let's get started. What parts of the bodies are going to be shown on camera? Where are the frames going to be kept? Is it everything that they know?
We usually follow the Planned Parenthood definition of consent, which is the 5 pillars of consent are FRIES, FRIES.
What was your family's reaction? Just a little intrigued when you said that you wanted to be an intimacy coordinator.
I don't think my dad told me anything else apart from, I hope this makes you money. Full body coverage for whatever part of the body is not showing on camera when they're doing any scene of nudity, because we don't want actors to feel uncomfortable while doing scenes of nudity. So we give them certain modesty garments, or we give them certain garments. In general, they're called modesty garments because we want.
What's your reaction to people who think that way?
To be very honest with you, I don't argue with people that say that they don't need intimacy coordinators, because I feel like this work. You have to have an intimacy coordinator, much like how in India an action director is mandated. When you're doing scenes of action, you have to have an action director. It's for the physical safety of the actors. An intimacy coordinator is there for the mental safety of the actors.
But now that you also have your team in and around the country, we have someone in the south as well. Did you want to talk about her?
Jayalakshmi Sundaresan. I definitely shoot in a lot of South Indian productions. I've actually done 2 Tamil films. One is in a festival circuit, one is in post-production right now.
Also, tell me any particular director you'd like to work, particularly from the south?
But like the director that directed Super Deluxe, Tyagaraja Kumar Raj, for sure. But I also want to work with the actor-director who did Kantara.
You mean Rishabh Shetty?
Oh, I definitely want to work. Oh yes, I want to work with Rishabh Shetty. If I get to work with Mani Ratnam, I can therefore after that just say that I'm happy to go to the Himalayas and retire. And of course, SS Rajamouli also.
Hi Aastha, firstly thank you so much for giving us your time in between those travel schedules. You're very busy, I know, going around the world, helping people with coordinating what intimacy looks like on a film set. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Aastha. So to just break everything down, the term intimacy coordinator lets us general audience navigate the term in many different terms, because it's a very interesting term, right? Like coordination and intimacy. Wow. Tell me, what is the role of an intimacy coordinator on a film set?
So the role of an intimacy coordinator is akin to the role of like an action director or a dance choreographer. The idea is that an intimacy coordinator or an intimacy director are people that are an HOD who handles scenes of intimacy. So they liaise between the performer and the production and direction in order to execute scenes of intimacy, choreograph them, talk about the creatives, while definitely making sure that the performers feel comfortable throughout the entire process, and that the director's vision is achieved.
So what does a day of an intimacy coordinator looks like on a film set?
Honestly, it really depends on what the shoot is. So there isn't any one specific kind of routine. I think that's probably why I really like the job as well, because every day is very new. But essentially, a day would look like me reaching set, or like when an intimacy coordinator reaches set, they would first go in and check with the actors how the actors are feeling on the day about the scene that they're going to shoot. They would liaise with all the different departments to make sure that all of the requirements are in place for the scene. Um, and then they would discuss with the director if there's any um, thoughts that they have, any last minute thoughts that they have, anything they want to incorporate, or if I, if they're completely comfortable, one would run them through the entire rehearsal and the entire conversation that has been discussed, because one wants to remind everybody on set of what is being shot. Lastly, I would probably talk to the first AD and remind them of the closed set protocols, because it's usually production and first AD who execute how a closed set is maintained for a scene of intimacy, and then you shoot.
Interesting. But Astha, you have carved a very unique pivot for yourself as a career choice, right? And 𝐴𝐻𝐸𝐸 is your first film as an intimacy coordinator. You are India's first intimacy coordinator, while you were also working as the director's assistant to Shakun on 𝐴𝐻𝐸𝐸. So you were just there from the start of the film. Tell me where it all started for you being the one on set as an intimacy coordinator.
Oh, because Shakun said that he needed an intimacy coordinator, and there weren't any in India. So um, he was discussing how he wanted to shoot the scenes of intimacy and how he wanted to make sure that we were following all the rules and protocols that the West follows. That such that, since he'd read a couple of articles, he wanted to make sure that um, we were doing everything above board. Um, and while I was researching about it, I fell in love with the idea, and it felt like it was just definitely something I wanted to do and I wanted to study.
Right.
And so I did, and that's how I became an intimacy coordinator on 𝐴𝐻𝐸𝐸.
There's so much of a gray when it comes to such scenes being shot. With such scenes, what I mean is intimate scenes and making love, or sometimes the script even demands 10 men abusing one little girl, right? So where does consent, where do you draw the boundary? Where do the comfort of the performers stand for you as an intimacy coordinator? How do you make sure that the performers are comfortable to do a particular scene?
So I can't make anyone comfortable. Nobody else can make someone comfortable. They either feel comfortable or they don't.
Okay.
You can't assume consent. So it's extremely important to make a conversation about consent and boundaries the first and foremost important aspect of the work that we do. We're a very consent forward process. Just the idea of having an intimacy coordinator is an extremely consent forward process. So the the point is that once you um, inform the actors exactly all the information that they need in order to shoot a scene, and once they have had time to process it, then they decide whether or not they feel comfortable doing something that is being asked out of them. And based on that, I mean, because I'm assuming your idea of comfort is a lot in tandem with the definition of consent, which is why I'm saying this. When an actor feels like they are comfortable is when they kind of trust everybody else around them, and they feel like they're in safe hands. They feel like they have a voice, that they are in a brave space. They can discuss if there are any thoughts that are coming to them, and when that happens, the actors feel comfortable, and then they're agreeable to do the scene that is being asked out of them.
So do you conduct workshops for these performers before a particular scene? And what kind of workshops do you actually have for the performers to feel comfortable before they go on set to shoot the scene, right?
So workshops again look very, very different for each person. Um, The reason is that every character is different, every story arc is different. So a workshop looks very different for each actor, for each performer, for each power dynamic that is at play, for each couple. Everything looks very different. So I play with a lot of different kinds of exercises and a lot of different methods of workshopping and rehearsing. And the idea is that you tailor make a space which you can then use to make actors feel a little bit more I won't say the word is not the word is probably not comfortable. I think the word is a little bit more aware of how they feel about the scene, and how they feel about being in the scene with their partner. And that's kind of what we do in workshops. And then of course there's rehearsals. And when we are rehearsing, we make sure that actors are going through all of the beats of the scene, and figuring out what it is their hands and legs are doing. So a lot of that part is choreography. Workshop involves a lot of choreography, which is why it, of course, right before choreography involves a lot of consent and boundaries exercises, in order for there to be very clear communication between scene partners.
So when you say communication to the performers, do you also let them know what parts of the bodies are going to be shown on camera? Where are the frames going to be kept? Is it everything that they know?
Oh, yeah, for the most part. Um, it's usually what you ask of an actor, that what part of the body are they willing to show, and what part of the body are they okay to show, and what part of the body are they not okay to show, what part of the body are they okay to touch. If the scene partner has to touch them in any way, what parts of the body are they not okay with experiencing touch. So there is definitely all of that is involved. I mean, that is what consent is about. So consent, we usually follow the Planned Parenthood definition of consent, which is the 5 pillars of consent are FRIES, FRIES. F is freely given, which means that consent is not given under any kind of pressure. It's something that you can choose to not give. You have the option, and if you don't have the option to say no, then a yes is not a yes. R means it's reversible, which means that if you have given consent to doing something, but when you walk into it, you realize that certain parameters are not how you were promised they would be, or they make you feel uncomfortable in any way, you get to reverse consent. I is that it's informed, and that's the part. You can't give consent to something that you don't have information about, and the information is who is your scene partner, how long is the scene, where is the scene, what are you going to be doing, what are the angles going to look like, what is the mood of the scene, how is it going to be shot, what are the parts of the body that you're showing, what are the parts of the body that one is touching, or all of those aspects come into play. So that's informed. And E is, according to Planned Parenthood, E is enthusiastic, but I like to say that E is empowered. It comes from within. It allows for agency, and it allows for one person to have a brave space around them where their voice is heard. So they know that if there is anything that they need to discuss, that they have a voice in the room and their agency is intact. Thus, they are able to consent to doing something. And S is specific, which is that when you're asking for consent, you're asking specifically for consent for something. When you ask for consent, it's not blanket. It's not like you assume that if an actor has done 4 movies where they've done intimacy before, that in your movie they will do it. It's not like you can expect that if an actor has agreed to doing a scene of intimacy in the earlier part of the script because it was written, that you can assume that the actor will be comfortable doing a scene of intimacy that was not written on script and has been suddenly sprung up and suddenly brought into the mix. So when you're asking for consent, when you're writing for consent, even within contracts, that's something to be very sure of, is that when one consents and one consents to like blanketly to something, then it is definitely I would say contestable, because it's not accurate and it's not active consent. So the
Right.
idea is that one needs to, at all points of time, inform actors, needs to inform performers, and also needs to keep checking with the directors what their vision is and if everything is sitting the way they want it to be in the scene.
A lot of information, so much to learn from what you said. I'm keeping fries in my mind henceforth. But tell me, what is the environment looking like when a scene is already choreographed, when the performers know that this is going to be that's going to be shot that particular day? So what's the energy, what's the environment looking like on a set? I'm assuming it's a closed set as well.
Yeah, usually the environment is very calm and extremely methodical because the idea is that all scenes are shot very professionally. So they also don't take very long to shoot. Scenes of intimacy can happen very quickly, as it is when you're in a closed set, usually functioning is much quicker. And in my experience, I found that when due process is maintained, that scenes of intimacy can actually be quite, they can, you can shoot them quite easily. And the idea is that throughout the process, eventually the director and the producers and the actors all come out of shooting a scene of intimacy feeling proud of what they've shot, feeling happy with what they've achieved for the story. And yeah, that's essentially the energy on a set, like how you would have for any scene. If you get the scene, you feel exhilarated.
But what an inspiring career choice. So interesting. I just want to know, what do you have to tell people who want to get into your shoes here on Aastha?
You mean people that want to become intimacy coordinators?
Yes.
There is a training process. So there is an application that you need to fill in. You need to train yourself. This is not a job that you can learn on the go. This is definitely not a job that will be easy for someone to do if they don't have the accurate training and the required training and the education that comes with it, because there is a lot of different variables at play, and you're dealing with extremely sensitive spaces and extremely sensitive scenes with performers. Things can go wrong very easily. So it's extremely important to not walk into it without the adequate amount of knowledge around mental health first aid, trauma informed care, understanding uh, trauma triggers, understanding how different people cope. So, what are the different mechanisms? What is harassment? What looks like harassment? Apart from that, also, of course, understanding the technicalities of filmmaking is super important. What are the different ways in which you can make something look like a scene of intimacy without actually shooting a scene of intimacy? Understanding how to function with the legal angle of the work that we do, which involves a lot of contract law, and also understanding what is considered legal within the country to shoot. There is a law angle to this. So there is definitely a lot of studying to do. And for anybody that wants to do it, there is a 20-week program that the Intimacy Lab offers. They're going to be offering it again, I think, in April in 2024. There are also different institutes around the world that offer it. This is the only one in India. And I mean, I don't know if they can put the link below, but it's www.theintimacylab.com. They have a course that they offer, which is in association with a SAG-AFTRA accredited course called the Intimacy Professionals Association course. One can also apply to IDC, which is Intimacy Directors and Coordinators, which is based out of New York. And then there are several others. So you can actually apply to any of these courses and get the requisite training, get your certification, and then you can be on a film set and be an intimacy coordinator.
A lovely guidance there. But tell me, what was your family's reaction? Just a little intrigued when you said that you wanted to be an intimacy coordinator.
So I think I was born with a genetic lottery. My parents are both extremely supportive people. They have both always been And in fact, even my grandparents, for that matter, all like everybody in my family has always been extremely supportive of my decisions and my choices. It's not usual that you find parents allowing their daughters, and I use the word allowing very loosely when I say this, allowing their daughters to come and work in a film industry. And I feel like I never really faced that much of a struggle because when my parents saw that I had the talent and I had the hard work, like the ethic of working hard, were happy to support me through and through. So when I told them about intimacy coordination, the reactions were pretty much the same, apart from the fact that my father warned me that I was treading a path that would be very unknown. Although my mother was just ecstatic at the idea of me doing something new and continuing to study, because she really motivates me and keeps telling me to never stop studying and never stop learning and never stop growing and exploring in whichever direction I want to. My father's only thing was that you should be a little prepared because you're doing something which is slightly different, and you'll be the only one, so you won't have community and you won't have like a safety net to fall back on. You won't be working for anyone. You have to do it yourself. So it's a huge challenge to take on, is what he said to me. He said it's a huge challenge and you should just be patient through it. And once you set your mind to it, then don't question it. Go for it. That's essentially all of what they said to me. Yeah. I don't think my dad told me anything else apart from, I hope this makes you money.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Lovely. But here you are, inspiring so many who want to actually get into your shoes and see what it looks like to be something on set as an intimacy coordinator, right? But yet another time, when well made, these scenes are so visually appealing. Like we saw 𝐷 I personally loved For More Shots Please, and then you also worked on Class, right? Tell me, what kind of tools do you have to use in order for the performers' body parts to not be touching each other, right? So what kind of tools do go in when such scenes are shot?
So we use something called barriers, which is basically the idea of creating a barrier between actors, performers, and their genitals being separated from one another. It's just to give some more added comfort and to make sure that performers don't at any point feel awkward. There is also another reason for it, which is called arousal non-concordance. So the reason is that a lot of times your body will react to a certain kind of touch, even though you know you're mentally in a professional space and you don't want any kind of arousal to occur. But it's really important for us to make sure that no awkward situations are created on set. So we try to mitigate those with barriers. So there are different tools that we use which are called barriers, and it really depends again on what angle, what scene, where we're placing the camera, just to make sure that in any way that we shoot, we are not going to see the barrier, but it is there. So yeah, so it can be something as small as an athletic guard which somebody wears inside their costume. It can be something as big as like a pillow. Sometimes I'll cut yoga mats up into different shapes and sizes to give more cushioning, more support. So it depends. Yeah. And then we use something called modesty garments, which is slightly different from barriers, but it's essentially to make sure that actors have full body coverage for whatever part of the body is not showing on camera when they're doing any scene of nudity, because we don't want actors to feel uncomfortable while doing scenes of nudity. So we give them certain modesty garments, or we give them certain garments. In general, they're called modesty garments because we want them to be as covered as possible while they are shooting a scene and they're on a film set. Essentially, all of these are to make sure that performers don't feel like they are thrown off in any way. It is to cut out all of the nervousness that is possible for a performer to have, apart from how they would creatively perform a scene. You want to take away all the other hassle of shooting a scene so that they can truly focus on the scene and feel like they've been supported throughout.
Your reply to people who think that an intimacy coordinator might not be needed on a film set because it's relatively very new and we did know that such scenes were shot even before, right? So, what's your reaction to people who think that way?
An intimacy coordinator is definitely needed on a film set for a scene of intimacy, even if everybody feels like they're super comfortable. Essentially, the idea is to delegate a scene to someone else and let them, as an HOD, handle it. So it's not one more added headache or one more added stress for the director to figure out how to communicate for that scene. For anyone that says that they don't feel like an intimacy coordinator is needed on a film set, I honestly don't have much of an answer. It really depends on whether or not they feel that it's important for their actors to feel comfortable. It really depends on whether or not they feel like their performers need to have support and feel like they've got somebody to kind of bear the onus of maintaining a brave space and someone who is going to do well what an intimacy coordinator does. To be very honest with you, I don't argue with people that say that they don't need intimacy coordinators because I feel like this work requires for people to be welcoming of it, for people to understand what the value it has and what value as intimacy coordinators we bring to the table. I feel like when people don't understand that value and when people don't understand the work that we do or what the process is like, more often than not, they expect us to convince actors to do things that they don't want to do. More often than not, they feel like our presence is supposed to make actors feel comfortable. Just the fact that they know that there's an intimacy coordinator should make them do things that they don't want to do. I feel like a lot of people don't fully understand the job. They don't fully understand the concept of consent. And I've reached a certain point with my own emotional journey with this work and my own professional journey with this work where I feel like for certain people that would want to ice out an intimacy coordinator even if one is asked for. I don't think I have the emotional labor to sit to teach them what an intimacy coordinator can do for them. It's entirely one's choice in India, whether or not they want to hire one, whether or not they see merit in it. I definitely feel like now that the West has completely mandated it, like Hollywood, it's mandated. You have to have an intimacy coordinator, much like how in India an action director is mandated. When you're doing scenes of action, you have to have an action director. It's for the physical safety of the actors. An intimacy coordinator is there for the mental safety of the actors. And one can recover from a broken bone, but sometimes one can take a full lifetime to recover from a mental trauma that they may have faced. And it can completely change their dynamic with themselves and with others around them. So, understanding the value of how important mental health is and how important it is to have someone there to support it, that emotional labor is to each their own.
But now that you also have your team in and around the country, we have someone in the south as well. Did you want to talk about her?
Yes.
Jayalakshmi Sundaresan, my girl. She is also known as JLo amongst friends and close workers, close colleagues. She is a costume designer in the Tamil film industry, who is now also a trained intimacy coordinator. She is one of my students and someone I truly believe has great potential in this work. We also have a couple other people. There's a girl called Simran Chandani. She is based out of Hyderabad, but she also shoots in different South Indian um, productions. Um, I definitely shoot in a lot of South Indian productions. I've actually done 2 Tamil films. One is in a festival circuit, one is in post-production right now. Yeah, I feel like not just Tamil films, but also Telugu, Malayalam, um, Kannada. These are all languages where amazing content is being created today. It is definitely like the hub of storytelling in India right now. The South is doing the best work there is to do. And so, as intimacy coordinators from this country, I do believe that we have a lot to offer and we have a lot of great ideas for how we can elevate those stories. So there's definitely merit in reaching out to us if it's something that fits for the people that are telling those stories in the South.
100%, 100% Aastha. But could you please name these 2 films just so that we have an idea on which films you've worked in the Tamil industry?
I unfortunately cannot name the film that is in post-production because I have not been given a release for it. And there is I
Should
would
be
imagine
Sayavanam.
it's Sayavanam. Sayavanam.
Sayavanam.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Sayavanam with the actress
Beautiful.
Dev Nanda. She's a debutante. She's amazing.
Lovely.
And this Sayavanam is a film that debuted in the Chennai International Film Festival and then in the Kolkata International Film Festival. And it's got a lot of accreditation and it's really winning a lot of nice awards. And it's doing the whole festival circuit before it releases.
All the very best. We're looking forward to Saivanam, but also tell me any particular director you'd like to work with, particularly from the South?
I actually cannot name right now a director, and believe me, it's not because I don't know that many names. Well, that is part of it, is because I know a lot of the work, I don't know a lot of the names of the work. But like the director that directed Super Deluxe, Tyag Kumar Raj, for sure. I really want to work with Sandeep Vanga Reddy because I want to know what he's about in real life. Now, because his interviews don't seem like they're a real human. They seem like they're a very I want to have chai with this man. Like I want to get to know him. So I want to work on a Sandeep Vanga Reddy film for sure. Okay. Also Hanu Raghavapuri, the guy who directed Sitaramam.
Hanu Raghavapuri. Yes.
And then maybe I want to definitely want to work on some Malayalam stuff.
Interesting.
So I have certain actors I want to work with also.
Now, who are these actors, Aastha? We're curious.
I definitely want to work with NTR. I want to work with Chiranjeevi. I want to work with...
You mean from the Telugu film industry?
From the Telugu film industry and also from the Telugu film. Both these actors are from the Telugu film industry. But I also want to work with the actor-director who did Kantara.
You mean Rishabh Shetty?
Oh, Kantara? I definitely want to work. Oh, yes. I want to work with Rishabh Shetty at some point. And of course, I mean, like, there is one person that I mean, is not coming to my head like this, but like if he makes anything with intimacy, then I definitely want to do it as Mani Ratnam. If I get to work with Mani Ratnam, I can therefore after that just say that I'm happy to go to the Himalayas and retire. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And of course, SS Rajamouli also. I mean, come on. These are all, of course, these are all directors that have pan-India work and have done films that have had such a large impact that they're definitely the most cliched, so to speak, names that come to mind. But nonetheless, I feel like they're the top in their game and they've created such fantastic material that one would definitely want to, work with them. I definitely want to do an intimacy scene at some point in my life with Venkatesh Daggubati.
Venkatesh Daggubati.
Because I think he is so hot for his age. I think he's such a good-looking man, and we saw him in Rana Naidu. He plays the uncle to Rana Daggubati, and he plays the father to Rana Daggubati. He is actually his uncle, if I'm not wrong. I was just in awe of that man and his acting and his ability, and I couldn't take my eyes off of him on screen. So he's definitely someone I want to work with at some point. But I'm open to working with everybody. I love the idea of exploring a new space and getting to know more people and working with as many people as I possibly can. So I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for actually throwing in so much light on information that we had absolutely no clue about. It has been such a wonderful time speaking with you, Aastha. Thank you so much. Now I think it's only fair that I let you to take your flight because I don't want you to miss that. That's even more important.
But thank you so much for giving us your time. And it's been amazing talking with you. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for having me and for chatting with me and for asking me all these amazing questions. I feel so blessed and honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.